G'day, my name's Bill, these are the bots, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Age of the Prime's Blastoff. So, Blastoff from Brawl showed up early on Australian shores, which really was unexpected, but I only managed to grab Blastoff at the minute. I'm still waiting on Brawl, so in the meantime, let's make do with this guy. So Blastoff here is a deluxe from the first wave of the 2026 release of Age of the Primes, which appears to be the first generation's line since 2013 to carry on the same name and box style into another year, which is neat because I've really been loving this Age of the Primes line so far. Now as to who Blastoff is, well, he's a Combaticon who combines with his teammates to form Bruticus, and Blastoff here is the right arm of the combiner.
Bruticus angry. Bruticus devastator.
Starting off, the paint and plastics on this guy are amazing. He's super solid and dense for a deluxe. His articulation is tight and solid, and the overall hand feel of this guy is superb. He has almost no hollow parts, and he is so much fun to pick up and mess with. The paint is very nice as well, with all the purple in this figure being painted, and the giant Decepticon symbol on his back. The rest of this figure is cast in a very nice dark brown, and the purple highlights really make this guy pop. The sculpting on this guy kicks butt. Much sculpted detail and panel lines that really make this figure pop, which is really necessary on a figure not the most visually interesting deco. Speaking of the deco, the darkness of it really washes out the detail, making it a little difficult at times to see all the sculpting. But it's not terrible, you just need some good lighting. The head sculpt on this figure is pretty good. There's not much to say, it's got a faceplate and some eyes inside a helmet. Now something funny I want to point out is if you look at his eyes, they are silver, like his faceplate. But on his forehead is a pink spot. Now that is a reference to the G1 cartoon, where the people drawing the show could never get Blastoff's eyes right. So technically that pink is supposed to be his eyes, but it's silver because the show would more often than not have the eyes wrong. So technically this is cartoon accurate, so take that what you will. His articulation is pretty standard for 2025 with his ankle pivots, waist swivels, and yes, thank you, wrist swivels. But something excellent about this figure is just how tight the tolerances are. They're super solid, which is really great, especially for a combiner, even if it is a skeleton combiner. For accessories, Blastoff comes with two standard blasters, which are very nice looking, and he has the tail fin for the alt mode, which is packaged separately in the box, and must be plugged into the back of the leg. Something I do want to bring up is that this guy is in no way a retool of Slingshot and Firefly. They share some engineering like the way the legs work, which is also shared with Vortex and even going back to Legacy Dragstrip. Also the Combaticons and Aerobots share the connection points, so that they can connect to the skeleton frame, and yes, they both connect to Superion. I bring this up as a lot of people, myself included, thought that Blastoff would be a retool of Slingshot, but indeed, he is no retool at all. For such comparisons, here is Age of the Prime's Blastoff, with Age of the Prime Sideways, Studio Series The Last Night Barricade, Timeline's Hearts of Steel Megatron, and Age of the Prime's Vortex. Putting Blastoff with his fellow Age of the Prime's Combaticon, you can see the way this team is going, with them looking very nice and G1 accurate. Also, Blastoff here is way more solid and dense than Vortex, who, by the way, I did not think was flimsy at all, but when put next to Blastoff, it is no contest, and I can't wait to add the rest of the team, and I'm very much looking forward to Brawl. Now before we move on to alt mode, I wanted to bring out the old Combiner Wars version of Blastoff from 10 years ago. Yes, 10 years ago. And putting them side by side, you can definitely see how far we've come in terms of engineering. And these guys have some very big differences, the main being how the Combiner Wars one is just a straight repaint of the Combiner Wars Slingshot. He's even got the exact same head, which is not at all Blastoff's head. Also the CW one has a lot more yellow than the Age of the Primes one, as the CW one is based more on the G1 toy. Also fixed the most famous problem with the CW one, as being a repaint of Slingshot, which means he turns into a jet, which has left fans wanting a proper Blastoff that has the faceplate and is a shuttle. We got one back in Power of the Primes, but that was a bit hard to find, so that doesn't really count. And this new one is certainly filling that void left by the Combiner Wars one. Okay, onto transformation. Transformation is what has come to be your pretty typical Legacy / Age of the Prime's combiner limb conversion, which is folding up the arms and sandwiching up the legs. What you have left is a very nice shuttle mode. It's so very sleek and compact and looks pretty much perfect. I have no notes. The paint on this mode is awesome with the brown highlights on the wings and the Deceptor badges. Also this awesome Deceptor badge on the front which looks superb. For weapon storage you can plug the guns on the other side of the wings, and the tail fin obviously goes on top of the shuttle. You can also plug blast effects into the engine boosters on the back. A problem I do have with this mode is that the cockpit part doesn't always sit flush, which is quite frustrating, but you just gotta make sure that the arms are positioned correctly. Now putting him next to Vortex, and it's quite a difference, as Vortex side mode was pretty good, but it felt like there was a chunk missing out the back. But with Blastoff here, it's completely cohesive and there is no bit missing, and is overall a superbly solid alt mode. And putting this figure next to the Combinables one, well, it's no comparison. For starters, the CW one is a bloody jet, and the Age of the Primes one is the correct alt mode, being a shuttle. Also, the fact that the Combinables one has an entire robot hanging under the jet, whereas the new one is completely coherent, and you can't even tell that this thing transforms, which I guess is to be expected from a decade of engineering progression. So overall, don't even bother with the CW one, just get the new one. Or if you have to get the CW Combaticons, get the shuttle version, because this isn't Blastoff, it's just Slingshot by worst. Also, here is Age of the Prime Slingshot, and again they are not the same mold. They have shared engineering, but are completely different figures. For size comparison, here is Age of the Prime's Blastoff with Age of the Prime Sideways, Studio Series The Last Night Barricade, Timeline's Hearts of Steel Megatron, and Age of the Prime's Vortex. So in total, another fine addition to the Age of the Prime's Combaticons. Solid, much needed correction for the abysmal attempt that was Combiner Wars. The solid alt mode and perfect tolerances and some very nice paint, this figure is a very much recommend from me. So I've been Bill, these are the bots, until next time, have a good one.